And I'm like, what else? And I try to use us first as doctors because I want them to know this is not me preaching to you. I know I'm missing things. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD podcast, we have a great episode for you today. This episode you're going to want to listen to and then go back and re-listen. This is about the patient journey and how your staff impacts that, how they need to work together, and how you can get everyone on the same page. This is what I did in my office. Let me share it with you. We have the closing thought of the episode. Want to make you happy. This is the Ultimate OD podcast. Here we go. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD podcast. As you listen to this episode, know that for the first time in my life, oh my goodness, since my honeymoon, I don't even know if I did it on my honeymoon, I am taking a week off from the office. In fact, I was gone Thursday, Friday last week, and this entire week. I had spring break with my family, got home on a late Monday night, left late Tuesday night. I could have worked Tuesday and I did not. What is wrong with me? I'm getting weak and lazy in my old age, right? I don't know what's going on, but I didn't work, didn't see patients. Not saying I didn't work, right? And then I was off the rest of the week because I had a conference for P3. I'll have a lot of good nuggets for you coming back from that, but got out of the P3 and came back Friday, had a marketing meeting, and then had to submit payroll. Went boom. Look at me, growth, right? Remember, my ultimate goal is to be able to be away from the office for 1 month and still have it function. I still do a few too many things that could not happen, right? Like payroll, I'm the one controlling that. There's a few other things that I have to do, but I'm getting closer. I'm way ahead of where I used to be. That, my friends, makes me happy. And one of that is I've got pretty good systems in place, okay? I've got an associate that I fully trust, and we're to the point where her revenue per patient is getting to be on par with mine. So I can be gone. And again, we're going to lose the revenue of 2 doctors, but it's not like we're leaving money on the table. And again, no fault of her own. When we first started, we were leaving money on the table because we didn't have I didn't provide enough support initially to be where we needed to be. I remedied that. So those are things that when you do this, and I avoided purposely certain trips and aspects of leaving the office because, or rearranged my schedule because I knew that was going to be a thing. I needed to have more of a hand there. Now, I've done a really good job of getting to this point. I have a topic that we're going to talk about, not directly in this episode, but this episode will lead into that. One of the things that I've noticed is as we've gotten bigger, we have an optical department. We have clinic, the doctors. We have a front desk, and then we have our techs. The front desk and techs in my office do the same thing, right? So as you go through and you see the patient journey, essentially, I'm going to map it out for you. There's 5 things that really happen that in my office, and this was an office meeting, and I'll explain it more further, but there's 5 things that happen. They make an appointment, they get their exam, they purchase, they go to optical, they get contacts, they get their stuff, they get their glasses, they get their contacts, and then we recall them, right? That's the patient journey. And as you go through each little step, there's things that happen. There's details that matter. And we have become in our office much more siloed. We are too big to be overly cross-trained. Now, I want them to be a little bit more, and we're working on that. But again, I have 8 staff members, 9 if you include the associate, and over half, like 5 of the 9 have been here less than 6 months. Okay? So relatively new staff. My established staff, they're good. They can hang, right? But and I got 2 VAs, right? Virtual assistants. But they all have a role in the patient journey. And what we did is we put our core values up on the board. And our core values are care, expertise. This talk really didn't really affect patient care directly or expertise. That's the knowledge of like glaucoma, macular degeneration, our supplements that we offer, the insurances that we take, right? But it was more of our quality, our timeliness, and our team mentality, right? Together, everyone achieves more. The more than the minimum mentality, right? The quality is the attention to details, and timeliness is doing things, prioritizing what matters, right? I'm like, these are the three core values that we are talking about. Let's go through every step of this journey and all the roles that we play. And in a team meeting, we all sat, the front desk people, the opticians, the techs, the doctors, and went through every step. Like, what happens when they make the appointment? What do you do? Okay. When the doctor does the exam, what are we looking for? What is happening from the front desk to the workups? And we were like, hey, when they tell you they have a pair of glasses or they say they don't like X, Y, or Z, you have to convey that to us, right? We always ask the patient, is there anything you want to discuss with the doctor? That needs to be noted. That needs to be conveyed to the doctor. We love having this. I use my associate as the example. I'm like, she's a great doctor, but she does not like a pop quiz. She wants as much information as possible leading up into that. Now, my natural mentality, since I've been here, is give me their name and I'll figure it out, right? Well, my staff is operated under that assumption that every doctor just needs basically nothing. And no, not the case, right? So we conveyed that, like, hey, you can help us out by doing this, right? Then we jumped to the opticians. Now, the opticians in our office, they're superstars. They do pretty much everything at the end, right? The front desk has a ton that's going on, but the opticians are handling the stuff that drives revenue, right? Not that they don't intermingle, but I'm like, what is slowing you guys up? What do you need from us? And there's some things that the doctors were doing. Like, hey, we need the codes in there. We need the insurances posted. And front desk, oh, we didn't know that was a thing. Like, absolutely. This is why we're doing this. So who handles that step? And we go through, well, we do this. We can make sure that we're posting the insurance so you guys don't have to do that step. Doctors, like, for example, when I send over the codes, they'd get the prescriptions and stuff like that. The other doctor was doing it a different way, not always getting it to them. And she didn't even realize it, right? But by them calling us out, and it's not like confrontational, it's just like, hey, this is something that is slowing us up. Well, we can easily get you that information, right? Knowing what moves the needle, right? What affects them. And I'm like, what else? And I try to use us first as doctors because I want them to know this is not me preaching to you. I know I'm missing things. There are things that I am letting you down on. What is the patient coming out and not knowing? And one of them was when we make a medical follow-up, like we need to see you for a glaucoma evaluation or OCT for macular degeneration, right? The patients a lot of times wouldn't really know, or at this point don't really know why they're coming back. Like, you need to tell us that. We need to be better at explaining that and emphasizing the reason why we're making them come back again, right? In addition, we recommend supplements. And one of the things that we do, not supplements, supplements and other things, right? Lid hygiene, lids and lashes. You look at the root cause of dry eye, the lids and lashes are the cause, right? So we are big on lid hygiene in the office. Just get that debris off of there, right? We're not talking about baby shampoo here, right? There's a lot better things for the eye specifically. But we talk, well, you can do, wipe, you can use a hypochlorous acid spray, or you can use a tea tree gel. And we describe those things, and the patient would come out thinking they had to do everything, right? Doctors didn't know this, right? Opticians, I'm like, well, thank you for telling us. We can do a better job of explaining this to our patient, right? And then we went to the ordering aspect. So they've closed the deal, they've made the sale. My staff does not know how much goes into placing an order. And then we send, after we put in the order, then our VAs are actually doing the ordering, what they have to do. How sometimes it's not just like they put it in the computer and the glasses is ordered. We have to bill it to insurance. Some insurances we bill and they order. Some we have to bill and then we have to actually order the glasses as well. And then billing has to make sure we got paid. And if there's any breakdown in the flow of information or we forget to add something, we're not going to get paid. Hurts the business. But in addition, if we're off by a millimeter or we're not putting that a patient needs X, Y, or Z, it's going to affect the order. It's going to affect them getting their stuff, right? Remember that patient journey? They go, they make the purchase, and then they got to get their stuff. We want them to get that as soon as humanly possible, right? Well, if we mess up along the way, we're delaying that process. And they didn't realize that, right? And then I put it out to the VAs. I'm like, hey, and we have a great culture with our VAs. We treat them exactly like we treat a staff member that's just not at the office, right? They're in our office meetings. When we talk at the end of the day, they're part of that conversation, right? We include them in what we do. But at the same time, they just go with the flow. They are not one to raise like, hey, this is an issue, because their culture, their mindset is we don't want to lose our job. We just want to make the employer happy, right? It's great, but it's not. You know what I mean? But in that sense, I'm like, okay, when should we send the order to you? What are you guys missing? And they put it out there. There's a few things like, hey, when you put in the frame to reorder, make sure you put in the actual color code. And that's different on the frame than what the EPM or EHR shows, right? The practice management software will describe the color, but that doesn't help when ordering. They need the color code. Deal. Getting scans in so they can order efficiently. Like, we scan everything in. Sometimes we're not labeling it correctly. We're not getting in right away. We put that out in the open. Those are things that are affecting people downstream. And we looked at the patient journey as a whole. It was one of our best meetings to date, right? Everyone got a chance to have input. No one was perfect, right? But as a team, we saw how everything that everyone does affects the patient. It affects us getting those reviews. It affects us hitting our scorecard numbers, right? It was great in that aspect. That's something I'm going to keep revisiting, but that's what you guys need to do. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but you have to have everyone in the room, right? They need to see how their actions are impacting other people, right? We like to think that, we do our part, it's someone else that's messing up. Sometimes it's us that's causing the issues for them, right? And that's your coworkers. That's not even explaining how that patient feels, right? So that, my friends, that I have like 2 more steps that we'll build on later on this. But remember, I'm on vacation right now. I'm in the Florida sun enjoying life. So that being said, we'll have more for you next week, but you have got to get everyone rowing in the same direction. Make your staff understand their impact not only on the patient journey, but on their coworkers' journey. That matters. I'll have more for you next week. Where has the time gone? We are to the closing thought of the episode, and one of the things that I stumbled across in my travels that I thought was really good, really interesting, is that your success in life depends on your ability to make good decisions. Your happiness depends on your ability to not care about the outcomes. Ooh. That's a deep one, right? Because we all want to be successful, right? All of us are doing that. But happiness is kind of a big deal, right? You can be really, really successful and stinking miserable, right? But my friends, if we're happy, hard to not call yourself a success. You know, other people's by other people's, measuring sticks, you might not be, but who gives a crap if you're happy, right? And take ownership of that, right? Shake off the haters, water off a duck's back. Your happiness depends on your ability to not care about outcomes. And that's really hard to do. That's what I have for you. Dr. Lily out.